What is good, you guys? This is E&D Walker back here again with Obsidian Games. Got another video for you guys this week. I got my journal out here again. Why? Because my journal has so much valuable information I realized that can help you guys in your solo play. And the subject that I want to talk about this week, which is, I would say, generally the biggest plague that happens in all solo gaming, is why most solo adventures fail. You'll get started playing a game, your solo RPG starts out with a bang, right? Your character's dope, world's dripping with mystery, and then a few sessions in, bam, you hit a brick wall. You don't know what to do, or you're bored. You don't know what you want to do next, and then your adventure just fizzles, right? And then what ends up happening? You got a whole bunch of extra blank pages inside of your journal that goes back up on the shelf that ain't gonna do nothing, and then you're going around searching for another system that you want to check out, right? So if that sounds familiar, you're not alone. It's one of the most common ways that solo adventures die in the solo role-playing community. So that initial rush of excitement becomes frustration, and then you're just like, you know what, I don't know if this is for me. I'm not doing it right. I've seen tons of posts on Reddit where people are always talking about, what do I do next? How do I get moving forward, or what am I doing wrong, right? Well, this is the answer to that question, okay? So what I'm going to do today is using my current journal that I have. And like I said, my journal is not the end all be all, but it is definitely a guide to help you guys in your solo role playing. It definitely helps me out. And so I'm hoping that the tips that I share with you today will help you out in your solo role playing journey and stop you from hitting that brick wall, so to speak, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some structural tools to create the story that doesn't run out of gas or anything like that. We're going to look at why your stories may fail too. And then I'm going to walk you through some fixes that'll hopefully help you guys out and keep things pretty engaging, okay? So the first thing you want to figure out why your adventure failing. The number one biggest problem, okay? You got to play doctor for a second, okay? We got to look into it, diagnose, and figure out what's going on, okay? And usually it's not one thing, right? It's a whole bunch of different things that are a few of the key issues as to why either your game stops being fun or you end up not knowing what to do next, okay? So one of the biggest reasons why solo role-playing games die is you don't have a clear goal for your character. Okay, you make a dope character, you put him in this world, whether it's homebrewed or it's in, a module that you're playing, and you're doing these little things, and you're wondering, like, what's the point? Okay, should I go to this village? Should I go in this tavern here? What's this NPC doing? Do I need to talk to them? Should I go in the forest? Should I not? Do I get on the ship? Whatever. You don't know, right? And so if you don't have a why for the reason why your character is doing this stuff, it really doesn't matter. And unfortunately, when it ends up happening, it just becomes boring, because at that point, you're pretty much creating steps to boredom, right? And that's a problem. And so when you have too many small, micromanaging things that you have to do, it's going to get boring really quick. Or sometimes your goal can be too big, right? I'm going to save the world from the ultimate demon lord Rokakis, and save the world from a blight that's going to, rid the world of evil for the next 10,000 years. Okay, but you're a gnome with like a pencil in your hand, not as a RPG. Like, your character literally has a pencil. Like, what is he going to do next, bro? You serious right now? That's way too big. And so you kind of end up going into this decision paralysis sometimes, of wondering what to do, and then you go into other resources and you're like, what in the world am I supposed to do? Okay? Another problem is you're losing the narrative momentum. Now, in a regular game, the game master is the ones who keeps things moving, right? They put in the story beats they're the guide to kind of keep you going. But when you're solo, you're by yourself. You're the engine. You're the one who has to do everything. So again, you're going to end up falling into some sort of decision paralysis. And, you're overthinking every single option that you have. You're looking at every single table you got at your disposal. You're looking at all your tools and stuff like that. And then the game stops. You don't have the flow and momentum. And then when you're writing, you end up writing whole novellas and stuff. Now, again, if novellas are your deal, that's what you want to do, that's perfectly fine. I do that in my journal. Bam, look at that right there. I do it. But that's a part of my flow, okay? So that's a secondary problem. Now, another problem is you have a total lack of surprise, okay? Now, let's be real. It's easy to feel like choosing your own challenge is like cheating. And if you're the one who decides the goblin's hiding behind a door, and you're also the one who has to fight it, and where's the tension in that, right? So when that happens, that can kill your engagement because there's no real risk, So when you're playing, you're looking for shock. You're looking for the twist that you didn't see coming. The NPC who's going to do something that you didn't really predict that they would do, right? But if you have a story where everything is so predictable and you have no mystery to it, everything's going to fall flat, right? So that's an issue. Those are the three issues pretty much that kind of cause your adventures to fall flat. Okay, so one, you don't have a clear goal. Number two, you don't have narrative momentum. And then you have that lack of surprise. Huge problems. Many of us have had campaigns grind to a halt or completely end when you have these issues. So what are we going to do to fix it? Okay, what are some things that you can do to keep the campaign going? Okay, very first thing, and I'm gonna show you this thing in my journal here, actually, because I think it's better to show than to tell. That's what they say. One of the things in writing is better to show than tell. So here in my journal, when I started the Elric Quartermain campaign, he had a very clear goal. The amnesiac Nomi Tinkerer, Dr. Elric Quartermain, finds himself in the confines of the Bastille, which is the prison planet. He has no idea who he used to be, and so he's working to find a new path and escape the planet. That's the main goal of the campaign, okay? But now how do you achieve this goal session by session? Well, in real life, when you have regular goals, right, you have to have smaller actionable goals that go towards that destination, that main goal that you're working for. It works the same exact way in solo RPGs, okay? So what you want to do, I didn't really start doing this till later, but I started doing it when I felt my campaign starting to get stagnant, because it happens, okay? It happens to the best of us. But in every single session, before you get started, I write a small goal that is in relation to the main goal of the entire campaign. In this session 11, Elric must try to make his way through the Bastille to find Beul and come up with a new plan. That means they had a plan before that plan completely failed, and they had to start over. So in order to meet the ultimate goal of escaping the prison planet, he had to find his friend Beul to now make a new plan. That was the goal of this session. I didn't go any further. I didn't try to expound on it and do extra stuff, okay? And doing this is magic, okay? Because it gives your character an instant reason to act. Every decision that you make in the game is measured against that singular goal in that session. Does it help Elric escape the prison? If it does, cool. If it doesn't, get rid of it. Don't do it, okay? And then when it comes to prep for your solo games, having that goal clear in mind also helps you with a little preparation as well. If you know you're trying to accomplish a specific goal, you're going to prepare your games and your enemies that you might face or your encounters according to that. Because, as we know, one of the rules of solo RPG, preparation is also play. So if you have a clear goal for that session, everything that you prepare is going to be much easier to do, okay? But that also doesn't mean it can't be epic either. In a way, just because you know what's going to happen through preparation, it doesn't mean that it can't be a surprise either, because sometimes you might feel like you're cheating a little bit, right? So the second thing you want to do is really choose your oracle. Perfect oracle example, one of my favorites is Mythic. That Mythic engine, second edition, is fire. When I first started, before I created my own oracle that I use in my games, I use Mythic religiously. And it's scene interruptions or scene changes. It has a lot of random NPCs that will be randomly introduced into the story. Things like that add a measure of or that element of surprise. But the thing is to use it strategically. Don't use the oracle for every single thing. You come across a castle door, and there are two large doors. Is the door open? Let me consult the oracle. Don't do that. Don't do that. Come on. Come on. Unless the door has like a puzzle on there or something, you don't do that. Come on, the door opens. Obviously, it's there for a reason. You know, use your oracles when the stakes are high, or when you meet a bartender or something that's pretty grumpy, and you're wondering, could he possibly be an ally? Okay. And what's going to happen is, even though the oracle may tell you one thing, the grumpy bartender may be secretly there to help you, and he's ticked off. You won't know unless the dice say otherwise. If the dice say he doesn't help you, he doesn't help you. And that is a valid surprise that happens. And so then that twists the game and turns the game in a different direction, where you're going to have to think on the fly. And again, this would be a good time to use those tables to help keep you going. Okay. Now, the third thing that you want to do, again, the way I write in my journal is something that I do recommend to most people. Again, you could do what you want. Mine is just an example. This is how I journal. It is not the end all be all. Okay. However, I will say the way that you journal does help. So the thing that I do is, whenever I'm playing my games, I write my goals for game flow. I also do something, what I mentioned in my last video. I roll 5 words off of all of my tables, specific words that will help me whenever I get stuck, and I can see if I can incorporate them into the adventure. Let me see if I can find them right here. So these are called session hooks here. So I have the goal, then I have the session hooks. So like the goal here, focus shift to Beul. This is Elric's campaign, but I have another character. So to switch it up, I decided I want to play with Beul this session. I have that goal, and then I have my 5 words. Instead of having to go back and break immersion to go into Mythic or something like that, I could stay here, look at these 5 words, and utilize those words to see if I can utilize them to fit to keep going here in the campaign. If I can, if these words don't work, then I'll go to the oracle as a last resort. Okay, but that's that preparation ahead of time to help me stay in immersion, to keep me locked in. Okay, another thing that I do is, if I have questions, I write down my questions and I write down my notes here, and then I put in all my roll information, what the results were, what stats I rolled, what abilities are necessary for that, what the complexity score is, because I'm using my Rising Legends system for that. All of those things I write out beforehand. And then, based on the results, if you're the type of person that likes to have narrative or write like I do, I then later on come back later. Sometimes I won't do that for those. Sometimes it'll just all be mechanic stuff for 2 sessions. And then on another session, it'll just be another session while I'm writing narrative. And that's perfectly fine. But setting those things separately, what it does is it lowers your mental burden, and you're not trying to weave dice rolls into different scenes on the spot, and then it makes everything look all confusing and stuff like that. You can just play the game, and then you can write the story. And also what happens is that your journal and your narrative as a whole just becomes a lot cleaner. And honestly, that's what allows me to put in like a lot of the drawings that I have in my journal and stuff. So, because I place them in areas where the narrative is, which then helps the story move along, or a little bit before if I know something is going to happen. So it makes everything really clean. And it also makes it a lot easier to track and keep track of. Okay. Another thing to remember again is going back to that solo RPG rule. Preparation is play. In regular RPGs, if you're playing with a group, the GM is going to spend hours prepping the game, creating the plot threads, all of those things. But solo, that's kind of like homework for you, right? And it kind of makes you less motivated to do it. Okay. So prep as you're playing the game. Okay. This writing is a part of my play. Whatever is going on when I'm making the goal here, it's kind of like housekeeping when you first start. When you first start the game, this is all a part of playing the game. So prep as you play, okay? And do so when it makes sense, okay? So if the oracle, so say for instance you run across a character where the oracle is a bartender, and you ask the oracle, hey, is this bartender a part of a secret thieves guild or something? And the oracle says yes. Cool. Don't just jot it down here in the journal and move on. Take some time for a second, think about it for a moment, and write down a little bit more details. Flesh them out. Take about 5 minutes. Try not to take more than 5 minutes, but flesh them out really quick. Give them a name, give them some kind of quirk, a motivation. You could utilize your tables, utilize the pre-session hooks that you want if you want to, again, to keep yourself locked in. But these build momentum because now as you're playing, you're going to be thinking, how is this NPC going to help me accomplish the current goal in the session, and in the long run, help me finish and accomplish that long-term goal that I have at the beginning, okay? So remember, the prep as you play method builds momentum because you're actively creating the world in response to what's happening around you, okay? And thinking about the character in the world is playing. Okay, so it's all part of the fun. So don't be afraid to do that while you play. If you do that, it will keep you immersed. Your flow state is going to be much better, and you're going to enjoy it a lot better and be less likely to hit those brick walls and be like, I don't know what to do next, and then just end up giving up. Okay, so there you have it, you guys. You got 4 tools to fix the biggest problems in solo RPGs. You got a clear goal. You need some oracles, a clean journal, and that prep as you play attitude. Again, take some time to flesh things out just for a little bit. And as much as you can, keep everything locked in within the game if you can. This framework is here to support you so you can stop stressing about the right way to play and just enjoy the story as it unfolds. Okay? Solo role-playing is awesome because it's your story. You could do whatever you want. It gives you complete creative freedom to do whatever you want, and there's no wrong way to do it. These things that I'm giving, these tools and tips that I'm giving in these videos are just tools to help you get unstuck and to keep the engine running when you got a little bit of a stall, okay? But again, what works for me may not be the same that works for you. Maybe you could pick and choose some things that I have here, but as long as it works for you and you know it's something that can help your flow and keeps you engaged in the story that you're playing and that you're telling, that's what matters, okay? So, what about you? If you have your own tips, what I want you guys to do, if you went to the end of the video, which I appreciate, and you're keeping the campaign on track, I want you to drop them in the comments below. Tell me what games you're running, how you keep your notes, what tips you do, because your comments and things like that might give other players, some advice, might give me some advice, some things that I can implement and try in my games. And then we can all learn from each other, okay? So if this was helpful and you like what I'm putting down here, and this is your cup of tea, as I like to say, do me a favor, hit the like button. If you'd like to subscribe, you can. It's not mandatory, but I really appreciate it. And I'll give you more content on solo role-playing as well as other board games and all my my tabletop game development stuff as well. Okay? So, again, thank you guys for hanging out. And your adventure's just getting started. You guys take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Deuces.